Hi, welcome or welcome back to Books and Bocadillos. My name is Maria Andrea, and this is a very special Poetry Thursday. It's been a while since I've posted a Poetry Thursday video on my channel, and I've been trying to find my way back into this poetry series that I do here. And yesterday I was having a conversation with my friend Pat at the channel Book Chat with Pat, and she was letting me in on her plan to post a video for Poetry Thursday that would be centered around the theme of poems of protest and resistance. I was so happy to hear her say that, and I immediately responded and said, "Can I join you? Can I collaborate with you? May I please join your effort and also read poetry around the same theme?" And she was really excited that I was interested in doing this, but she did lament that she had already filmed her video. So she did not say that I was a collaborator or that I was doing this as well. And to that I say, Pat, thank you. No worries. I just wanted to jump in and support your effort and stand with you in sharing poems and poetry to fit the theme of resistance and protest. And for this special episode of Poetry Thursday, I am showing off my new um, sweatshirt that I got for Christmas. Poetry is protest. I firmly believe that. So this is going to be a bit of a longer video. I have several poems to read. I don't know how long this video is going to be, so grab yourself something tasty and sit back. Let me read some poetry to you, and feel free to hop in and out of this video. As I understand, it might be a little longer than my usual Poetry Thursday videos. I am drinking a mint tea, and I'm here with you to share poetry that inspires protest and resistance. Thank you for being here with me. I would like to start with Joy Harjo. This collection is titled Weaving Sundown in a Scarlet Light, 50 Poems for 50 Years, and it is published by W. Norton Company. This collection holds a variety of poems from her different previous poetry collections or work, and this is a little bit about Joy Harjo. Joy Harjo is the author of 9 books of poetry, including An American Sunrise, several plays and children's books, and 2 memoirs, Crazy Brave and Poet Warrior. Her many honors include the Ruth Lilly Prize for Lifetime Achievement from the Poetry Foundation, the Academy of American Poets Wallace Stevens Award, and fellowships from the National Endowment for the Arts and the Guggenheim Foundation. A member of the Muskogee Creek Nation, she served 3 terms as the 23rd Poet Laureate of the United States from 2019 to 2022. She lives in Tulsa, Oklahoma, where she is the first artist in residence at the Bob Dylan Center. So the first poem that I want to share with you is An American Sunrise. An American Sunrise by Joy Harjo. We were running out of breath as we ran out to meet ourselves. We were surfacing the edge of our ancestors' fights and ready to strike. It was difficult to lose days in the Indian bar if you were straight. If you played pool and drank to remember to forget, we made plans to be professional and did. And some of us could sing when we drove to the edge of the mountains with a drum. We made sense of our beautiful, crazed lives under the starry stars. Sin was invented by the Christians, as was the devil, we sang. We were the heathens, but needed to be saved from them. Thin chance. We knew we were all related in this story. A little gin will clarify the dark and make us all feel like dancing. We had something to do with the origins of blues and jazz. I argued with the music as I filled the jukebox with dimes in June. 40 years later, and we still want justice. We are still Americans. We. Somewhere. It was a day of brutal winds, all of them ganging up to blow injustice down. They sang the changing weather. I was going nowhere. Anything on the ground not burdened by gravity was twisted and lifted up to drop. There were dreams, cities, and plastic bags. I was going nowhere. I tightened my coat to the approaching winter. But you cannot duel and win against a season, history, or a murder of winds. Shooting down MLK Boulevard, I was approaching Archer, the juncture of several histories. A burned street of wishes was smoking there. I was going nowhere. I just wanted to get home, but where is home? I always ask the sky, no matter where I roam. An old Muskogee map is different. We know by trees, rocks, and the obligations of relatives. We might be going nowhere. Our roads aren't nice lines with numbers. They wind like bloodlines through gossip and stories of the holy in the winds. History is everywhere. 3 tribal nations met here. We weren't going to go anywhere. At the corner of justice and fight, the thought of the miraculous was miles from my mind. It was nowhere in my mind. It was curled up in a distant field in the heart of a once loved country. Then I saw books flying from an unseen woman's hands, shoes that never fit her or anyone, and poetry everywhere. She was going nowhere. I had been thinking of the massacre down the street from here and how ghosts keep their place among us. How I might be a ghost set loose here in the wind, walking with the ghost of fire. And then there she stood, a ruined goddess, half naked on the sidewalk, classic Africa in her stance of beauty. We were going nowhere. Excuse me, she called out to me. There is no excuse for this raw story of abuse, and no clothes will fit this moment of the tale, nothing good enough for her beauty. She was a child when she was first taken. Her home is her pain, naked without clothes. Where was her father, her mother? Burning. There is nowhere, nowhere. Time is always moving. It is we blood carriers who stay rooted to the gravity of hurt. The story has to be told to be free like a tree lifted in a breeze. If we don't tell it, the stillness will. I could give her my jeans, my jacket, my shoes. I searched her mind as it flew in the wind. My mind chased her mind through tunnels of time. It was going nowhere. There is no excuse, sang the winds of forgotten history as they covered her up with a ragged blanket stitched with loneliness to take her with them. I was feeling my pockets for change, for guns to protect her, nails and lumber to rebuild all the houses burned by hatred. I only found a pen without paper. History goes nowhere. It is always female power that bears truth to righteousness of any new nation. Liberty guards the harbor, Sacagawea the river of discovery, the Virgen de Guadalupe the earth. And here the one for whom I have no name is not nameless. The mass grave is a grave of names. Without knowing them, we are going nowhere. I see her now on every corner, the miracle the winds brought, a song made by the rejects of history, wearing clothes that cover nothing. She is everywhere. I turn up the music. It's from my girlhood, just miles up the road. Blood tales run through our bones like these streets made of the unspeakable. These winds will never stop telling the truth. I thought I was going nowhere. I like that notion of the winds telling the truth. The truth cannot be hidden. The next poem I want to read is titled Whereas, and it's the titular poem to this collection, Whereas, Poems by Layli Long Soldier. This collection is a finalist for the National Book Award. Whereas I read an article in the New York Times about the federal sequestration of funds from reservation programs, the cuts in federal promises and treaties. The article details living conditions on reservations, a suicide rate 10 times higher than the rest of the country. Therein, the story of a 12-year-old girl whose mother died. She doesn't know her father. She bounces home to foster home weary. I regard how plainly the writer imparts her repeated sexual abuse for mental care unavailable services. There's a clinic that doesn't have money after May. Don't get sick after May is the important message. As I read, I cry. I always cry. And here I must be clear. My crying doesn't indicate sadness. Then I read a comment posted the online article below the online article. I am a 14-year-old girl who recently visited the blank reservation in South Dakota with my youth group. The conditions of the Native Americans people were living in were shocking. When I arrived home, I wrote a petition on whitehouse.gov for the U.S. to formally apologize and pay reparation to the Native American people. This petition only stays up until July 23rd, so please sign and share. You signing it would really mean a lot to a lot of people. Thank you. Dear 14-year-old girl, I want to write. The government has already formally apologized to Native American people on behalf of the plural you, your youth group, your mother and father, your best friends and their families, you as in all American citizens. You didn't know that. I know. Yet, indeed, dear girl, the conditions on reservations have changed since the apology. Meaning the apology has been followed by budget sequestration. In common terms, sequestration is removal, banishment, or exile. In law speak, it means seizure for safekeeping, but changed in federal budgeting to mean subject to cuts. Best as I can understand it. Dear girl, I went to the Indian Health Services to fix a tooth, a complicated pain. Indian healthcare is guaranteed by treaty, but at the clinic, limited funds don't allow treatment beyond a filling. The solution offered, pull it. Under pliers, masks, and clinical lights, a tooth that could have been saved was placed in my palm to hold after sequestration. Dear girl, I honor your response and action. I do. Yet the root of reparation is repair. My tooth will not grow back. The root is gone. The next is the next poem is by Franny Choi from the poetry collection The World Keeps Ending and the World Goes On. Franny Choi is the author of two previous poetry collections, Soft Science and Floating Brilliant Gone, as well as one chapbook, Death by Sex Machine. Her poems have appeared in the New York Times, The Nation, the Paris Review, and elsewhere. She lives in Western Massachusetts. This poem is titled We Used Our Words, We Used What Words We Had. We used our words, we used what words we had. To weld what words we had, we wielded, kneeled, we knelt and wept. We wrung the wet, the sweat, we racked our lips. We rang for words to ward off sleep, to warn, to want ourselves, to want the earth. We mouthed it, wound our vowels until it fit. In fits the earth we mounted, roused and rocked, we harped. We yawned and tried to yop and tried to fix affixed. We facted, felt. We fattened, fanfared, anthemed, hammered, felt the words. Worth stagnate, snap in half in heat, the wane, the melt, what words we'd hoarded, halved and holy, porous, meanwhile tide still tide, and we still washed for sounds to mark and marked. Next, I am going to read from this collection, All the Possible Bodies, poems by Ian Haley Pollock. And the poem is titled Metaphysics with Poppies. I can't understand after years of reading the relevance of metaphysics. How does it account for the wants of my mind, breaking apart my body? I prefer to think of poppies, the variety fated to bloom blood red, or of planting poppies. Any flowers in truth, how they come to us in plastic pots, how after we shovel them a place in the earth we extract the flowers from their vessels, how while we lower them down into their potting hole, ganglionated roots and the dirt compacted around those roots retain the container's shape. I am interested in the shape of things. Is that the relevance of metaphysics? You know I'm hiding again, don't you? Still the boy between the cedar and the wedge of stone wall where, lying flat, he cannot be seen from the first house his parents ever owned. I am hiding because I am tired of broken promises. My country's and my own. I thought we promised never again to clothe bodies, especially of children, in chain link. But here we are, and me, I promise to jettison the anger that howls away at those, especially the children I mean to keep closest to me. But here we are, anger not exercised, stashed instead on a high shelf, loaded and with safety off. I need that anger, brandishing it. I feel most electric and alive. That's not quite it, but I cannot make the story only about me. We would not let a woman and a man and their sons walk across a bridge, or if we had when they arrived, we would have outfitted the boys in that broken promise of fence. I can't understand what we feared. Maybe that we'd fall out of love with the country that never was as we imagined it. Maybe that we'd fall out of love with ourselves. The sons gathered between the woman and the man, the four hitched arms, and waded into the water. We've decided separates that place from this place as the four experienced it, swollen and churning. With the confluence of spring rain, the river was both abstract and real. You know the resolution, water suddenly high, rent of undercurrent, the boys drowned. The first sun washed into a backwater matted green with reeds eroded out of their soil, where downstream and returned to the other side. The second sun floated to something like rest. Soda cans bobbed with him in the shallows, as the mother and the father could not. I am afraid that I cannot protect my children. I use anger to keep myself and them alive. This is wrong. I am wrong also to make the story of the woman and the man and their sons about me. I made a different promise never to masquerade in stories not my own, but I hid behind them their story as I hid behind metaphysics, poppies, anger, a cedar, and fear. I hope it matters, although I suspect it doesn't, that I broke this promise. In good faith, their story is not my story, but if I don't see myself in them, the four in the water and not on the bridge, what do I stand in relation to? What are my properties? What shape am I in? Ian Haley Pollock is the author of two previous poetry collections, Spit Back a Boy, 2011, and Ghost Like a Place, 2018. His poems have appeared in numerous publications ranging from American Poetry Review to the New York Times Magazine and The Progressive. Pollock has received several honors for his work, including the Cave Canem Poetry Prize, the Alice Faye di Castagnola Award from the Poetry Society of America 2023, NYSCA, NYFA, Artist Fellowship in Poetry, the Bim Ramke Prize for Poetry from Denver Quarterly, and a nomination for an NAACP Image Award. He serves as director of the MFA program in creative writing at Manhattanville University in Purchase, New York. Okay, next. From Andrew Gibson's You Better Be Lightning. Pat at Book Chat with Pat sent this to me very kindly in the mail, and I wanted to read from it for this. Thank you, Pat. Okay. Homesick, a plea for our planet. In the 5th grade, I won the science fair with a project on climate change that featured a papier-mâché ozone layer with a giant hole through which a papier-mâché sun burned the skin of a Barbie in a bikini. On a lawn chair, glaciers melting like the ice cubes in her lemonade. It was 1987 in a town that could have invented red hats. But the school principal gave me a gold ribbon and not a single bit of attitude about my radical political science because neither he nor I knew it was political. Science had not yet been fully framed as leftist propaganda. The president did not have a Twitter feed starving the world of facts. I spent that summer, as I had every summer before, racing through the forest behind my house down the path my father called the old logging road to a meadow thick with raspberry bushes, whose thorns were my very first heroes because they did nothing with their life but protect what was sweet. Sundays I went to church but struggled to call it prayer. If it didn't leave grass stains on my knees, couldn't call it truth. If it didn't come back with a dare to crawl into a cave by the creek and stay there until somebody counted all the ways to 100. I thought 100 was the biggest number there was. My mother absolutely blew my mind the day she said 101. 100 and what? Billionaires never grow out of doing that same math with years. Can't conceive of counting past their own lifespans. Believe the world ends the day they do. Why are the keys to our future in their hands? Of those who have the longest commutes from their heads to their hearts, whose greed is the smog that keeps us from seeing our own nature and the sweetness we are here to protect? Do you know sometimes when gathering nectar, bees fall asleep in flowers? Do you know fish are so sensitive snowflakes sound like fireworks when they land on the water? Do you know sea otters hold hands when they sleep so they don't drift apart? Do you know whales will follow their injured friends to shore, often taking their own lives, so as not to let a loved one be alone when he dies? None of that is poetry. It's just the earth being who she is in spite of us stamping barcodes on the sea, in spite of us acting like Edison invented daylight. Dawn presses her blushing face to my window, asks me if I know the records in my record collection look like the insides of trees. Yes, I say. There is nothing you have ever grown that isn't music. You are the bamboo and Coltrane saxophone reed, the mulberries that feed the silkworms, that made the slippers for the ballet, the pine that built the loom that wove the hemp for Frida Kahlo's canvas, the roses that dyed her paint, hoping her brush would bleed for her body. Who more than the earth has bled for us? How do we not mold our hearts after the first spruce tree, who raised her hand and begged to be cut into piano keys, so the elephants could keep their tusks? The earth is the right side of history. It's the canyon my friend ran to when no one else he knew would echo his chosen name back to him. Is the wind that wailed through 1956 Alabama until the poplar trees carved themselves into Dr. King's pulpit. Is the volcano that pours the mercury into the thermometers held under our tongues. The earth takes our temperature, tells us when we are too hot, even after we've spent decades denying her fever. Our hands held to her burning forehead, we insist she is fine, while wildfires turn redwoods to toothpicks, readying the teeth of our apocalypse. She sends smoke signals all the way from California to New York City. Ash falls from the sky. Do you know the mountains of California used to look like they'd been set on fire because they were so covered in monarch butterflies? Do you know monarch butterflies migrate 3,000 miles using only the fuel they stored as caterpillars in the cocoon? We need so much less than we take. We owe so much more than we give. Squirrels plant thousands of trees every year just from forgetting where they left their acorns. If we aim to be just half as good as one of the earth's mistakes, we could turn so much around. Our living would be seed. The future would have roots. We could cast nothing from the garden of itself, and we would make the thorns proud. I love that. Next, from this collection, this anthology of Somewhere We Are Human, edited by Rina Grande and Sonia Guiñasaca, there's a poem in here that I want to share. This poem is by Sol Cacique. If I, an undocumented person, were to own a spaceship, or two or three, is the title. One is shaped like a blanket octopus, conceived by the gravitational forces of supermassive black holes. It's controlled by its skull-less brain, cobalt blue and iridescent. Tentacles dipped in electricity, changing shape and decorating its form with striking fauna, dead suns of old, and bright psychedelic clouds that water its simmering body. Pools of sweat that splatter onto asteroids are forged by my salt and rage. From being continents away from my family while my abuelo lies alone in a crowded hospital room, a virus feeding on his body, nightly rosaries and novenas forming a limp shield over his weak lungs, the world outside roars as his spirit flows over the burning streets, a nation suffocating at the hands of soldiers and corrupt leaders. But the sun won't set today or tomorrow or for another 5 billion years, and so I make myself useful in this octopus. I call it Deathstalker, after my Scorpio rising, crackling and hissing between stars. As outlaws of space, we adapt to its galactic surroundings, speeding away, secretive and undetected. The spaceship's body, a powerful whip with no expiration date on its livelihood, it harpoons the belly of enemy spaceships, whose vessels, driven by greed, absorb and extract the parts of fallen ships to a point of no return. We liberate those long thought to be lost, turning them into tourmaline. Then there is a sequoia, floating within supernovas, an infinite and proud 87-meter giant spaceship. Nebulas are caught in its shallow roots and long branches. I name it Taurus. Like many trees that have followed me in my dreams, its furrowed saffron-colored bark is whittled and carved with the archives of moons from galaxies that it helped raise and others it watched crumble. The sequoia exists carefree in space, not for the consumption of humans or their plans that only end with downfall. Its existence for once is just for itself, energy powered by pleasure and solar, and I ride it to access the songs of my childhood that vibrate through its spine. And I get to remember boleros dancing throughout my abuelo's apartment, summer air smeared with laughter, my family unaware that this will be the last time we dance on the beige and blue flower-tiled floor. I get to daydream time travel, become ancestral anthologies, guardian of wanderers and rainbow children. I get to be infinite. Amorcito, the dripping skull, is the last one. Two heart pickaxes cross on its crown, drenched in various tongues of inferno orange. I sail it through Jupiter's hurricane and Saturn's rings. I coat Mars's red sand across my chest for protection, flying freely and borderless, for there are no checkpoints or ICE agents asking for IDs or papers. There are no prisons here, only a birthplace for golden roses. This ship has a lingering incense of nostalgia, of sacred moments sustaining this mortal body. 6 a.m. aroma of freshly made arepitas, sprinkled with homemade queso blanco and caraotas. Immaculate white bowed shoes running through the plaza. Tiny strawberry ice cream cone that once melted down my small arm. The melancholy notes of the llaneras hitch onto the breeze that carries these smells, taking it home to the Venezuelan plains. I am a space rider now, an alien without chains, dressed in talismans and fire, observing the depths of my homeland, wondering what price I paid for this freedom. I tighten my leather jacket, a proud bull embroidered on the back. I put the ship into drive. A hummingbird skull on the dashboard clinks against the glass, drifting across the Milky Way. Someone beckons me to come home. One sharp right turn and I could be there, surrounded by warm soil that my worn feet know too well. I taste the pabellon one more time. I embrace my abuelo one last time, because nothing is permanent and everything is deserving and divine. Sol Cacique is an undocumented creative, centering their work on themes of transformation and the beauty of being, creating and imagining beyond the limits of colonialism. As a stellium tourist, they're constantly craving birria tacos, a warm window seat to read by, a sweaty perreo mix, and the fall of white supremacist states. There's no negotiation for their identity. Next, I have Jose Olivares. This is the Promises of Gold collection. Jose Olivares is the son of Mexican immigrants. His debut book, Citizen Illegal, was the finalist for the Penn Jean Stein Book Award and the winner of the Chicago Review of Books Award for Poetry in 2018. He co-edited the poetry anthology The Breakbeat Poets, Volume 4, Latinx, and co-hosts the poetry podcast, The Poetry Gods. And the poem I'm going to read from this collection is titled Poem Where No One Is Deported. Now I like to imagine La Migra running into the sock factory where my mom and her friends worked. It was all women who worked there, women who braided each other's hair during breaks, women who wore rosaries and never had a hair out of place, women who were ready for cameras or for God, who ended all their sentences with si Dios quiere, as in the day before. The immigration raid, when the rumor of a raid was passed around like bread, and the women made plans, si Dios quiere. So when the immigration officers arrived, they found boxes of socks and all the women absent, safe at home. Those officers thought no one was working. They were wrong. The women would say it was God working. And it was God. But the God my mom taught us to fear was vengeful. He might have wet his thumb and wiped La Migra out of this world like a smudge on a mirror. This God was the God that woke me up at 7 a.m. every day for school and let me know there was food in the fridge for me and my brothers. I never asked my mom where the food came from, but she told me anyway, gracias a Dios. Gracias al Dios de la comida, gracias al Dios de las mujeres, gracias al Dios del chisme who heard all La Migra's plans and whispered them into the right ears to keep our families safe. Next, I read from this collection before. I really love this collection. It's titled Plantains and Are Becoming Poems by Melania Luisa Marte. Melania Luisa Marte is an American writer, poet, and musician from New York. Her viral poem, Afro Latina, was featured by Instagram on their IGTV for National Poetry Month and has garnered more than 9 million views. Her work has also been featured by Ain't I Latina, Afropunk, The Root, Teen Vogue, Telemundo, Remezcla, Pop Sugar, and elsewhere. She currently lives with her partner and child between the Dominican Republic and Texas. And the poem, I've read several poems from this collection before, as you see, different tabs from different Poetry Thursday episodes. Today, I want to read a poem titled A Day Like Today After Rage Almighty's Activist. Today I rise with the sudden ache of dawn. My bones try not to remember the storm, the whirlwind of trauma, try to shovel up my strength, build myself a cocoon, crawl back into my skin. In 30 days, all of me will be ash, and a brand new me will emerge. Isn't that kind of black girl glorious? How we learn to heal the same way we learn to bleed? Isn't that what God intended? That the Red Sea seeping out of us be a picture of the impossible. How we heal as much as the air we breathe as a testament to our strength. Have you never seen the canvas of our magic? Show and prove the colorful rainbows that become of us. We are no longer mourning, not searching for grief, not praying for freedom. Today I want to learn to play again, run wild with the wind, lie in bright green grass and water myself into a flower. Today I choose to be a passion flower. Isn't that all we fight for? To live a life worth living? That our passions be a legacy, lasting longer than our pain, that the warmth of safety allow us to feel at ease. I have no space in my mind for grief. In this place I am a movement of triumph, a singular army of joy. I will not cry, not beg for God to numb me, to erase the bodies that once were names. I am a sharecropper teaching my garden to develop the confidence of a vengeful queen, to swallow this harvest and be full of power. Isn't she just so enlightened today? Next, I have this poetry anthology, Latino poetry, the Library of America anthology edited by Rigoberto Gonzalez. And I want to read the following poems. Let me see what order I have them in. This one is similar to the one by Jose Olivares. This is by Jose Antonio Rodriguez and it's titled La Migra. La Migra is immigration enforcement, ICE as we call it these days, or CBP, Customs Border Patrol. La Migra. The grown-ups sat on their long chair called couch and talked of the weather, the dew of the blossoms morning, and what might happen to us the children. Mom said, "Don't leave the house, not without papers." Do I dare speak of the papers hoarded in corners? How many more poems can you write about a face spackled with fear before it holds you? The reader aiming to, let us find a darkened corner, you and I, where we will lay these words. Leave children to sleep in windowless rooms, the mother biting a prayer, the country's weaving tomb. This poem by Richard Blanco is titled Como tú, like you, like me. This is for the DACA dreamers and all of our nation's immigrants. My veins, there's a quote here by Roque Dalton. My veins don't end in me, but in the unanimous blood of those who struggle for life. Mis venas no terminan en mí, sino en la sangre unánime de los que luchan por la vida. Como tú, I question history's blur in my eyes each time I face a mirror. Like a mirror, I gaze into my palm, a wrinkled map I still can't read, my lifeline, an unnamed road I can't find, can't trace back to the fork in my parents' trek that cradled me here. Como tú, I woke up to this dream of a country I didn't choose, that didn't choose me, trapped in the nightmare of its hateful glares. Como tú, I woke up to it. Como tú, I'm also from the lakes and farms, waterfalls and prairies of another country I can't fully claim either. Como tú, I am either a mirage living among these spaces and streets that raised me here, or I'm nothing, a memory forgotten by all I was taken from and can't return to again. Like memory, at times I wish I could erase the music of my name in Spanish. At times I cherish it and despise my other syllables. Clashing in English, como tú, I want to speak of myself in two languages at once. Despite my tongues, no word defines me. Like words, I read my footprints like my past, erased by waves of circumstance, my future uncertain as wind. Like the wind, como tú, I carry songs, howls, whispers, thunder's growl. Like thunder, I'm a foreign-born cloud that's drifted. Here I'm lightning and the balm of rain. Como tú, our blood rains for the dirty thirst of this land. Like thirst, like hunger, we ache with the need to save ourselves and our country from itself. And lastly, from this collection, one of my favorites, Pat Mora. This poem is titled Let Us Hold Hands. Let us now hold hands with the Iroquois women who slipped berries into children's lips, while her sisters planted stars with a wooden hoe, with the woman who rubbed warm oil into her neighbor's feet when Plymouth's winter prowled and howled outside their doors, with the woman who sewed faith into each stitch, cloth discomforts pierced to the rhythm of Español for babies born al silencio del desierto, with the woman who seasoned soups with pepper and hope as her days took her further from sighs of trees she loved, with the woman who parted her parched lips and sang for her mother when they staggered onto these shores in chains, with the woman who trained her stubborn tongue to wrap around the spiny language English to place her child in school. Let us now hold hands with the woman who croons to the newborn left amid orange rinds and newspaper, who teaches grandmothers to knit letters into a word, who whispers to the woman dying with one breast, who holds a wife whose face is more broken than any bone, who bathes the woman found sleeping in black snow. Let us hold hands with the woman who holds her sister in Bosnia, Detroit, Somalia, Jacksonville, Guatemala, Burma, Juarez, and Cincinnati, the woman who confronts the glare of eyes and gun barrels, yet rises to protest in Yoruba, English, Polish, Spanish, Chinese, Urdu. Let us hold hands with the woman who cooks, with the woman who builds, with the woman who cries, with the woman who laughs, with the woman who heals, with the woman who prays, with the woman who plants, with the woman who harvests, with the woman who sings, with the woman whose spirits rise. In this time that fears faith, let us hold hands. In this time that fears the unwashed, let us hold hands. In this time that fears age, let us hold hands. In this time that fears touch, let us hold hands. Brown hands, trembling hands, calloused hands, frail hands, white hands, tired hands, angry hands, new hands, cold hands, black hands, bold hands, in towns and cities and villages, mano a mano, hand in mountains and valleys and plains, a ring of women circling the world, the ring strong in our joining around our petaled home, this earth. Let us hold hands. And lastly, I want to end with Amanda Gorman. Her collection, Call Us What We Carry, is a wonderful collection. Amanda Gorman is a young poet. She is the youngest presidential inaugural poet in U.S. history. She is a committed advocate for the environment, racial equality, and gender justice. In 2017, Urban Word named her the first ever National Youth Poet Laureate. Gorman's performance of her poem, The Hill We Climb, at the 2021 presidential inauguration received critical acclaim and international attention. The special edition of her inaugural poem debuted as #1 on the New York Times, USA Today, and Wall Street Journal bestseller list. She is also the author of the children's picture book Change Sings. After graduating cum laude from Harvard University, she now lives in her hometown of Los Angeles. And I want to read 2 poems from this collection that are placed side by side in this really interesting page, flag page, white font. So this here in the flag, there's a poem, and then this is a poem. The first poem I'm going to read is the one that's on the page. No, not this one. On this page. And it is titled Fury and Faith. You will be told this is not a problem, not your problem. You will be told now is not the time for change to begin, told that we cannot win. But the point of protest isn't winning, it's holding fast to the promise of freedom, even when fast victory is not promised. Meaning, we cannot stand up to police if we cannot cease policing our imagination, convincing our communities that this won't work when the work hasn't even begun, that this can wait when we've already waited out 1,000 suns. By now we understand that white supremacy and the despair it demands are as destructive as any disease. So when you're told that your rage is reactionary, remind yourself that rage is our right. It teaches us it is time to fight. In the face of injustice, not only is anger natural but necessary because it helps carry us to our destination. Our goal is never revenge, just restoration, not dominance, just dignity, not fear, just freedom, just justice. Whether we prevail is not determined by all the challenges that are present. but by all the change that is possible. And though we are unstoppable, if we ever feel we might fail, if we be fatigued and frail, when our fire can no longer be fueled by fury, we will always be fortified by this faith found in the anthem, the vow. Black lives matter no matter what. Black lives are worth living, worth defending, worth every struggle. We owe it to the fallen to fight, but we owe it to ourselves to never stay kneeling when the day calls us to stand. Together we envision a land that is liberated, not lawless. We create a future that is free, not flawless. Again and again, over and over, we will stride up every mountainside, magnanimous and modest. We will be protected and served by a force that is honored and honest. This is more than protest, it's a promise. And then lastly, this poem that's written into the flag is titled America. A house divided cannot stand. To be divided then is to be devastated. The fact of the matter is that our country seldom counts all who matter. This is why red seeps from the flag. From our flag, we will say again that language matters. From the beginning, the colonized are Kennings, African American, Asian American, Native American. Apparently, there is no white American. American and adjective, American and qualifier. The term split up and dismantled, stripped and striped. Erasure demands a lifetime of rehearsal. Do you really understand what it is to be this dispensable body? We recognize the sobs. Now for the flags they were, the jerk of our heads as if waking from a dream or a nightmare. You decide. This is not the nation we built, at most not the nation we've known. No, oh no, this is the nation we've sown. It is our right to weep for the wound we've always been, a silent shock out of the blue, a hand hung to another or a head pillowed by a shoulder is by far worth more than anything we've won or wanted. When told we can't make a difference, we'll still make a sound. This Poetry Thursday episode is dedicated to Renee Nicole Good, Alex Preddy, Keith Porter, and the people who have been taken and died in immigration detention. Thank you for watching. Hasta la próxima.